So there was no opportunity for family planning because when you're on shore duty, you were potentially pulled for an IA, which is an augmentee status, where you can get deployed temporarily to Cuba or to anywhere.
Right.
So there's that. But then when you're on deployment status, they can't pull you, but you're on deployment status. So there was no safe haven per se. So when were you supposed to conduct this family planning? Because as women, we only have so many eggs in our basket. And are we so expected to wait until we're 40?
And a limited amount of time.
Correct. Our window is small. So again, are we supposed to wait until we're 40? I don't know if that's the plan or they care. And that causes one to think, especially if you're of the female, if you identify as female, is you feel kind of left out because it feels kind of like all the burden is on you. So now I'm the mom, so the pregnancy is on me, the child rearing is on me, because if you're a dual military family, one person is always pulled away. There's always a single family household dynamic 9 times out of 10. Not always guaranteed, but a lot of the rates, that's the dynamic a majority of the times. Hence, which is why the divorce rate tends to skyrocket in the military community for a number of reasons. One is if you're used to your partner being gone for a majority of the time and they retire, now they're around all the time. That's a learning curve that doesn't even, some people make it and some people don't.
Some people are just not meant to be on top of each other, you know?
Yeah, you're like, I liked you when you weren't around, but now that you're around all the time, I don't think if I like you so much. And that happens, right? That happens with friends, that happens with family, that happens with anybody. You know, if somebody visits too long, you're just kind of like, it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I need my space back.
Yeah.
And because when you get used to doing something independently, you're used to doing it all.
Right.
And when that other person who, or partner wants to contribute, it can be dodgy. And how do you navigate that? Because they're trying to acclimate how to get back in, but you have a rhythm, and you don't want them disrupting it. So that can create friction as well. So then, kind of like the way my experience has been with different people would be, well, you shouldn't be here then. Because you're a mom, you have kids. Why are you here? Why wouldn't I be here? This is a great job opportunity, you know, for everybody. Which leads me into a different. I'm going to divert a little bit. I'm going to divert into something a little bit. I'm going to take a side quest, is what I call a side quest. So
that's how we learn. That's what we're here for.
So the side quest. Hold on, I got to think about this. Because I think I lost the thread a little bit. Jay trying to take my side quest on this.
Defrag the hard drive.
Yeah. This is like, oh shoot, what were you gonna do?
Not enough coffee this morning.
Oh, so I heard an interesting discussion. I forgot what it was, maybe a TikTok or a video interview. I wish I can quote the person directly who said it. It'll come to me later. But were talking about how the military is is a volunteer force, but it's like a social program for the poor. And if you think about it, it is 1,000%. And I'm going to explain more about this, but for example, the majority of members who join the military voluntarily are disenfranchised, meaning that they usually, like myself, came from a struggling environment where I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from.
Right.
Trying to figure out what my next move was. You know, I'm 18 and I don't have a clue what it is that I'm going to do with myself. I wanted to go to college. That didn't seem like an option because I didn't have the resources to show me that you can get scholarships, you can do this, you can do that. So it's a lack of resources when you're poor, when you don't have access to those resources. You go to a public school.
You feel like you're boxed in by circumstances.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and if you don't have a lot of parental support or any kind of community support, you thinking, okay, well, what's my next move? That seems the most logical move. I'm going to go try that out, right? Because I was on the brink of having a breakdown. I was 19. I was overwhelmed. I was trying to take care of my mom.
Too young to be having a breakdown.
I was in public crying. Like, I was hysterical. I
Really?
was a mess. When I was trying to go to college, I was like 19 before I joined. No, I was at 18 because I joined when I was 19. So I was just the stresses of life. My parents had divorced. My dad has living his own life, whatever, with my brothers, because my brothers were not 18. So I kind of got left behind, if you will. It's less than ideal, but it happens. Life happens. It was less than ideal. It's not something I would have chosen for myself.
So you kind of came from a topsy-turvy environment.
Very, very much so. It was very chaotic. It was very unknown. At one point, when I was living with my mom, she kind of given up after the divorce and whatever happened. Yeah, she kind of just reverted into herself. So I was kind of like the caretaker of her. I love trying. I'm struggling, making minimum wage, working at Taco Bell, working at these different places, really trying to make it work, you know? At one point, we didn't have any electricity. We didn't have running water. We didn't have electricity in our house. We didn't have food. Like, we didn't have resources, basic human resources, because my parents were in a tiff with each other.
Yeah.
So that was a very ugly time. That was a very ugly time. And the embarrassment that I had to go to my local gym, get a cheap membership I can, just so I could take a shower. I had to have a place to go take a shower.
Wow.
So I can go to work, so I can have some dignity when I work. Get a little teary-eyed because it is emotional, it's deep. And I know I'm not the only person in the military that I've met who's ever been on this type of journey. There's post-foster children that leave the system. This is a great opportunity for them. And what do I mean by a great opportunity is that you hear a lot of mixed bag. There are some people who maybe come from more privileged backgrounds who may look at the military as, look at those suckers. Look at those people out there. You know what I mean? Like how, like, they're so stupid. Why would they do that? Why would you volunteer for something like that? Well, for a plethora of reasons. One is pride. I mean, it was something that the prestige behind it is just something that was, I think even if I would have had the resources, I think this is a journey that I still would have taken personally, because at 18, what 18-year-old knows what they want to do for the rest of their life?
Very few.
Not one, right?
Very few.
And even if they think they do, they at the end, like 20 years on the road, they'd be like, oh, I would have chosen something different. I would have done something different. Right. So what I always am, when I promote the military to younger people, what I always say is that it's life with training wheels. Because you learn those life skills, but it's training wheels. You have money in your pocket, you have a place to live, you have food in your stomach, you have health care, you have dental, you have all the requirements that a person needs, but there is no, very rare and far between if you can find a corporation that's willing to hire an 18-year-old fresh out of high school with no skill set to apprentice them, provide them with a decent paycheck, full health care, no deductible, dental, no deductible for them and their families. Travel, 30 days paid vacation a year. Where are you going to find this? Nowhere. It's unmatched.
That's right.
So, but we also know nothing's for free.
Right.
So, but if life is a risk. No matter what it is that you do, life is a risk. So this is a great opportunity to learn a skill set. You have an opportunity. You get money for college. You get that money. Like, that's okay. So if that's your dream, you can go to college.
Right.
If you don't want to use it, you can transfer it to your children now. You weren't be able to do that before with the Montgomery GI Bill. Traditionally, before the post 9/11 changes, you had 10 years from the time you left service to use up your GI Bill. 10.
It was only 10?
10 years, and then it was use it or lose it. And that's very unfortunate, and I think a lot of post-service members should have that retroed, because that's unfair that it's a benefit that was earned, that was promised contractually to these individuals.
All the time.
Right.
Yeah.
They were that was part of the benefits package, right? When you signed up, you're going to get free health care, and you're going to get a free education. Oh, but you only have 10 years to use that education, or we absorb it, which is, and you paid into it. And you had to pay into it $100 a month, so you paid $1,200 into it, which you never got back. Now they're starting to refund it back, because there was recently a Supreme Court case that was brought by a fellow veteran. I wish I could quote the name, but it could be easily Googled. They argued that the post 9/11 and the Montgomery GI Bill were two different programs that were both offered. There were contracts that were offered to the members. But when the post 9/11 was introduced, you had to choose. You had to give up your Montgomery GI Bill and convert it to post 9/11. So that was not right. So what they did is they reversed it and were like, no, you qualified for both benefits. You get both benefits. But the caveat is, they were both 36 months, but the caveat is total of 36 months. But if you used up some of your post 9/11 and you needed to add more money and you never touched your Montgomery GI Bill, you can request to the VA to have, let's say you have 24 months on your post 9/11, but you never touch your Montgomery GI Bill, you can take a year off of that and add it to the other one and have a total of 36 months.